Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, May 9th, 2024. My name is John Pieranunzi, and this is the opening swing. Let's begin today, as we always do, by discussing news. Okay, out of Europe, not a lot except the Bank of England interest rate decision just came out unchanged. We also have, related to that, we have Bailey speaking right now. Not a big reaction out of the U.S. markets as of this moment. Some Mexican numbers, and then coming into the U.S. hours, our 8:30 news driver is jobless claims. Not a tier 1 number, but it's what we got today. 9:15, Bailey speaks again. Another Bank of England central banker speaks at 12:15. We have our 30-year bond auction at 1. And keep in mind, the 10-year auction moved us yesterday. So, we flushed lower on that. Yeah, and there is nothing else. We have the Nat Gas report for those that trade the energy complex. Some Treasury announcements, but really still reasonably light. Moving on, let's take a look once again at the weekly chart. The reason I'm kind of emphasizing this chart, or I've been looking at it more, all these bars are our April range, and we put in inside week. We tested the high, and then this week we have broken out higher. We're above the prior week's high. We're above the untested prior week settlement. So what I emphasized yesterday is on this time frame, the weekly time frame, we're in price discovery higher on the weekly time frame. What was our initial target? It was the 13 quarters. We got them. Our next target that I've talked about on the weekly time frame is the 5250s, but we're aware that we have the 36s, which is what we're targeting as day traders is our next target. But so on this time frame, on the weekly time frame, I'm expecting higher prices to continue, and I'm expecting support on pushes lower until and unless we get back into the prior week's range. That's my expectation. But that's why I keep looking at the weekly chart in situations like this. Moving on to our daily chart, what we see on the daily chart here is a market that has been in really clear price discovery higher. We've broken out of our prior balance. And again, I'm not even going to look at prices below here at this point yet, because like I said, as long as we're above the prior week's range and prior week's settle, this is the area that we're trading in. So like I said yesterday, normally when I come in and we're in price discovery higher, the initial default expectation is the prior day's high is the target that we expect to be tested. Yesterday we came in, however, and what we saw were these candles that are, expanding range higher, big range leveling off, and then the stance we were in yesterday was that we could revert and take the prior day's low. We actually got the RTH low while I was doing the video. So the expectation yesterday was changed a little bit. We thought we'd get the test lower. I emphasized that I was expecting support on any tests lower based on what I was just talking about in the weekly chart. So that colored a lot of my plans yesterday, and for me they were good enough plans to get me into some good trades. So that worked out for me. Hopefully it did for you guys as well. But that's what we saw yesterday. We saw the test below the prior week's range, the test below the prior day's range, support, and a recovery back into yesterday's range. However, we could not get the high. And so for me at this point, going from price discovery higher, then we see the market structure break. This is now balance for me. And so whether we take today's high or today's low or today's high, or if we have an inside day, for me there is a bit less edge. It's a little bit it'll be harder to handicap. I could see either happening. I could see us take the low, I could see us take the high, or I could see an inside day. So that's we have to be aware of that today. Settlement is going to be important for me. So that's basically what we can say, at least for me, about the daily chart, is that, for me, there's just we see that there's support here. We've broken out higher. We're trying to hold this higher. We're trying to carve out some balance in this area. But as for today, I think that there's a little bit less edge as to whether we get the high or the low or we stay inside. Let's move to a smaller time frame chart. Quick look at our TPO chart. What I'm noticing on this chart is mostly that we're moving settlement and value lower. Additionally, we have something of an excess down here where we opened at the lows and just immediately found those prices too cheap and continued higher. Really looked like we were going to get settle above the prior settle yesterday, but we did not. So that's kind of I'm aware of that. Like right at the end of the day, it really looked like we were actually going to get a settlement above the prior day. Didn't. So we moved settlement and value lower. What's a key target below here? A naked VPOC, which we have, which is marked on your master levels. So that's what we're aware of here. Settlement value moving lower. What's our target below? Right there. What would be interesting to me if we get above prior settle, prior VPOC, and we're really holding and able to make higher prices and start to look like we're going to attack that high. That would be interesting. If we can't, then I would expect potentially reversion lower. We might look at this low and the naked VPOC. Let's get into some lower time frame charts and continue with the price action discussion. Okay, this is a 4x10 PNF, and this is our entire week so far. And what I just wanted to kind of emphasize with this is we put in our high, and then we've started to just kind of slog lower, and we've seen this before. So, like I said, we're seeing settlement here at the 1275 in this band. I have this band from 11.5 up to 19.75. It includes the 17 quarters, which is yesterday's high. I'm expecting resistance here in the first touch, and if we push above into these 20s, the question is, will it be a test or will it be a reversal? If it's a test, I would expect it to push higher, see no interest, and fall back. If it's a reversal, I would expect it to push higher and see a lot of lifting continue, and for that lifting to get higher prices, not just lifting and go straight into a wall. Similarly, below here, if we break below these ranges, I'll be looking for, as I mentioned, this naked VPOC at 83s, a take of the low, and probably support. If like probably a test lower and additional support initially. That's what I'm thinking. Let's continue delving into more granular timeframes. Okay, here is our 8-box PNF, and let's discuss what may happen today. So the important things to understand here, at least for me, is a look. Yesterday, also, we should note we didn't break. We did not break the overnight high or low, which is rare in the ES. It's something like a 94 to not, above not 92% percentage that we break that. Yesterday we didn't get it, so that's interesting, and we still haven't broken it, so that's important. So we have yesterday's high and low, full session and RTH are both pretty close, and these areas are important because they're kind of they're sort of our boundaries above and below. So kind of similarly to yesterday, if we're within this area today, the more time, like spending time within this area, it's pretty difficult to execute trades within this area. For for a lot of people, it's difficult. It's a little bit messier. For me, the way I approach trades within this area, I'm usually my trades are a little bit more like scalps. I'm looking for basically other traders to be wrong and to look for a chance to scalp, usually with a stat, some type of statistic or a key test. If we're trading within this area, that's just kind of how it goes for me because, there's less to go on. If we're just within the prior day's range, it's just scalpy trades. But let's talk about what will happen if we get a push outside of this range. We'll discuss that. So anyway, if we push higher, now obviously if we come in, we're getting these sort of like higher lows looking type of thing. So if we can hold that open and hold it, make a test and hold, or potentially test below but get back higher, then we're going to be looking for a test of settlement. That could be sort of one of those type of scalp trades for me. If we make some type of test lower, it's clearly refuted, we get an impulse higher, that would be an indication to look for settlement as a potential target. And then if we continue higher, the key is, like I said, if we get into this area, my initial expectation will be for the sellers to still be there and us to revert lower back into this area. That would be my initial expectation. How will we know if that's not happening? Well, like I kind of alluded to, if we get up into this area and we're able to hold, we test lower and then return higher and take out that prior high, then that would be the first indication to me that we're going to be able to continue. If we get into this area and we see action like that, then obviously we're looking for this high. This is our developing weekly high, the 5226s. And if we can continue through this, then we'll be looking for our 36s. Keep in mind, if we start to get up into this area, I would expect it to be a grind. I would expect it to be a difficult trade, like a kind of a grinding trade that might look like it wants to get to the 36s, but could fall a little bit short. So be aware, that's my expectation. I could be wrong and we could just shoot higher. In that case, if we do, we shoot higher, we get the 36s, they hold, we see this kind of action again here, pulls back, can't get back to wherever it came from, and makes another higher high. Then the 41s would be in play. The 41s are the top of or the bottom of the top quartile for the April range. That would be a price to be tested. And then beyond that, of course, the 5250s. And that would be a lot of excursion. I'm not really expecting excursion above the 5226s today, but it's very possible. But this is kind of what I would expect if we get some type of a break higher, some type of this action. It would have to, whether or not a break higher, if it happens, it would be like we'd figure it out by the action by how this area trades. That's how we'd figure out. We need to see the break, continue, hold, and then we're looking at potentially our targets above. But if we just test higher, the way that we've been seeing failure happen lately is we get something like we get a test, falls back, test higher, falls back, and then another one that's not quite as high, and then the game's over. But so that's what we're looking for on if there's potential to move below. And we're looking for, as I said, 26s, 36s, 41s, 50s. If we start going lower, very similarly, the area that we're really looking at, the key area, is going to be right below our yesterday's high or yesterday's low, 91.25 down to the 83s. Really, really key area as to what happens here. If we get a test into this area, same thing. On an initial test, I would expect reversion, just like I was expecting yesterday. I would expect a test. I would expect some type of impulsive move higher that cannot retest the low. And then we're looking for our targets above. We can target the developing VPOC, overnight VPOC, FS levels, the 5/2, which were the Tuesday low, or potentially settlement. Like that would be potential ideas if we get a test lower that shows support and continues higher, similar to what we did there. That was basically what I traded all day yesterday, was this move, and that was a pretty good move to trade. This was a nice, a fantastic trade. I was able to trade here as well to get that move based on this whole idea. And so we could see something again today like that. However, we also could see a market. Now, if we get something where the market comes out and it's like a lower high like this, falls below, can't get back up into FS levels and starts really pressuring this, but we could still just test here and revert higher. That could still easily happen. However, if we begin to get into this area down here and we can't get back above the century, then that to me could start to indicate we might see lower prices. Then we fall through the naked VPOC. If that happens, then the key target below, we're looking at 75s is an important area to stop. If 75s don't give us if they do not give us a higher low versus the 73s and get back above the naked VPOC, then the key target we're looking for, prior week's high. If we go below there, the prior week's settlement, which is down here in the 54 and 3/4 area. I would really expect us, me personally, I would really expect us to find support somewhere ahead of the 73, 75s area. I would really expect support to come in this area. I could easily be wrong, and sometimes when I'm wrong, those are the best trades. So be aware of that. This is my expectation, is that if we continue lower, I would expect sort of the 75 region. If we get through the naked VPOC, any of these areas we could test and just revert. Test the VPOC and revert. But I'm really thinking that if we get down to 75s, this would be the area where I would expect the buyers to really kind of dig their heels in. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, it'll be a better trade, because I think if I would be wrong about that, a lot of other people would be wrong too. So if we hit this area and we somehow break through, then the prior week's high, 66s, is a big target, and the big one for me below would be the 54.75s. So that's pretty much the universe of price action that I'm expecting to happen today. I didn't go out today as far as 2 vola, just basically to 1 vola, sort of on either side, because I'm thinking that we might not get that much range today. However, there could always be a surprise, and really with the stance we're in, a surprise could happen in either direction. But the key area on any excursion lower, like I said, really looking for 75s, and if we get below there, then the prior week's high is a big deal. And if we push into the prior week's high, push below the prior week's range into the settlement, I'm still expecting support initially on any of these tests. So be aware of that. What does that mean for me? If I'm trading short, no runners. If I'm trading long, I'll leave a runner. That's basically what I'm doing. That's what I'm going into today. Again, I keep going long. We're going to try to make these shorter, and if the ES keeps tightening up and the ranges get, if the ES continues to get kind of boring, we'll probably start covering crude as well. That may happen. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it here, already going long. I hope that everyone is having a good morning in progress, and I hope that you can make today a really good day by doing something a little better with your trading, improving in some way today. And of course, as always, make somebody else smile today, because that's the best thing you can do with your day, really. So let's wrap it here. Get out there, clock some ticks. Let's do it, everybody. Bye-bye.